So there was like a moment of me having self-doubt of not just kind of like finish college or go back to college and keep pursuing being a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And eventually, when I kind of like erased the email and kind of let it go, they call me and they email me like, I booked a job and you're leaving to Michigan in like 2 days, so pack your bags and we'll see you in Michigan, and you'll be shooting there for like a month.
Right at that point when you almost kind of lose all hope and kind of like about to give up then.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of moments like that because it's such a lonely road.
Alright, hey, nhớ rằng chào phong yêu sẽ của em mùa lì nè, lúc nào cũng dùng share của cho tới tụi phong yêu. It's about a day. We've known each other for a long time, and I'm really happy that he's able to join me. And he's Doua Moua, and you guys know him from quite a lot of big budget Hollywood films. Like I think his first one is Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, and then B Wang, and then Doua plays the kind of like the villain behind that. And then Mulan is one of the biggest Disney or Hollywood film as well, and he plays the character Po in there. And so a lot of other films that he's been in, but we'll talk some more about that. And then his latest project, one of his own, and I believe it's dear to his heart, which is called The Harvest, and we'll talk more about that too. So I'm really glad that Doua is able to join me, and I'm glad that you guys joined me, and I'm glad to have Doua with me. So hey, thanks brother, thanks for visiting me and having a conversation with me. I know you're really busy. You come up here in Minnesota to be with your family and visiting them and doing what off, but I appreciate you spending your time with me today.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I know that you and I have been talking, here and there, a little bit here and there over the years about doing projects and some projects of your own projects that you have been doing, and finally you got to make The Harvest, and it's on screen now. People can actually watch it now. So congratulations! I'm really happy for that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a long journey, and it's the backdrop is the Hmong family, but it's such a universal story that any culture, anybody could relate to the film, because it's a family story, about identity and generational trauma, So I'm really happy that it's out now, and I hope people buy it, rent it, and later on watch it if they need to. I think it's very important that we come together as a community and support this, so we could build off of this film for more projects, not just for the Hmong community, but also for the Southeast Asian community, to the underrepresented community. So.
Yeah. I know that to get to this point, or to get cast, especially cast into any major, especially the major Hollywood movie, it's really tough. So we'll get back to Harvest, but let's talk a little bit about your journey, your journey as an actor. So first of all, for those who may not know, were you born here in the United States or in Thailand?
No, I was born in Thailand. So Thailand with the refugee camp, and I was born in the refugee camp in Thailand, and we came to the United States when I was 6 months old. So in 1987. Yeah, and then Big Georgia, Minnesota, when it's like winter time.
So you pretty much grew up in Minnesota then.
Yeah, I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, East Side, and grew up at the projects McDonough Homes, right on 35 East, next to the old big Kmart right there. Yeah. And from there we kind of like and my parents would work 3 or 4 jobs, and then eventually got their own house from the McDonald Homes, and then we moved there, and I grew up there.
So, what school did you go to in St. Paul?
I went to Phelan Lake School, and then after that, I went to Trinity Catholic School on Arcade, on top of like the mountain next to like Metro State University. Yeah, Metro State University right now. And then after that, I got scholarship to go to a college preparatory school in Eden Prairie. So it's like living in St. Paul, and then 6 o'clock in the morning, you go to the bus stop, and then it's literally like a 3-hour drive, sometimes like 2 hours max, but sometimes 3 just because of traffic from St. Paul all the way to like Eden Prairie. And so that's like back and forth. So literally like my day is 6 in the morning, get home at like roughly 6 to 8 o'clock at night, depending on traffic. So that's like my life from like middle school to high school. So
Yeah. Now, when you're in high school, about to go to college, did you most of us we think we're gonna go in some kind of a career this direction, but then it ends up being this direction over here. Was it like that to you? Were you planning to go into some kind of a professional field?
yeah,
And then and then you kind of like pivot towards acting career, or tell me a little bit about that.
yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I love animals, and I want to be a veterinarian. And then eventually, that kind of like grew out of it, and eventually, kind of like, what can I pursue? I didn't want to be a doctor. Didn't want to be like a teacher. Didn't want to be like a police officer or any like the traditional route lawyers. I was like, oh, maybe it's like being a psychiatrist or psychologist, just because of like growing up in the Asian or Hmong family. Like you go through a lot of like the generational trauma, the culture clash, or you kind of like observe a lot of like different emotions and the sociology of my parents to me and my siblings to my relatives. So I kind of delve into want to become a psychiatrist and psychologist when I was in high school. But even in high school, I always wanted to perform. So from middle school to high school, I've always performed. So that kind of like the route of like finding the inspiration of no one has done it before, so why can't I do it and pursue that that entertainment industry? So
I remember you doing some you do some mall movies.
yeah. So I've done like Kang back then with like Kathy Mochapao when she was still running Chat. So they would be doing stuff with Asian Media Access as well. So it's just kind of like short films or like in bits and parts of the indie films and in the earlier I would say the second rollout of second generation of Hmong filmmakers in the United States. Because the first generation was like, Su Ta and like Ying Ta. That was like the first generation. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's others that I forgot to name in there too. But Kang and that there were more like the we go to school and we learn these techniques from college and university, and we bring that to the forefront of bringing the Hmong community or just kind of dive into getting into the Hollywood scene. So, yeah.
And then after that, I think you moved to New York, right?
Yeah,
You moved to New York. What? How many years did you stay there?
I lived there probably like 9 or 10 years.
Oh wow, that long?
Yeah, I lived
Okay,
there
okay.
for 9, 10 years. Right after high school, I moved out there, and then kind of lived there. Built a small Hmong community. Started Hmong NYC with my friend Sharon Her.
Yeah, okay.
Their family is big in Minnesota. They have a lot of like J Lao in Minnesota here. So she and me kind of have a yearn of still want to have a safe haven for Hmong people, young Hmong professionals that are moving to New York City to pursue their career or just come out there to visit to see if New York City, is a place for them. Because back then, it's literally there was only like probably 5 or 10 Hmong people in New York City.
Yeah.
So like every year we would have like a Hmong New Year potluck and get together and just build that foundation of like this is a community for you if you need to be here. And then gradually now it's probably like over 50 Hmong people in New York City, young professional, and that's the beauty of what we started is now there's kids that was being born in New York City, Hmong kids that are being born in New York City and are enjoying the New York City life. Back then it's still like considered not dangerous, but like in that sense of like dangerous, like it's like even my parents were like, are you sure you want to go to New York City? Like there's a lot of like traffic, like mugging and a lot of craziness in New York City, so that's why a lot of like my generation, a lot of young kids don't want to go out there just because of the fear of getting lost in the big city. So
Did you also move out there kind of like part of your trajectory of wanting to get into some kind of acting or performance? Is that part of your plan? Or
yeah, because I got accepted to a college in LA, and also accepted to college in New York, and I was like, I didn't want to drive, and like I want to be a place where like I don't have to rely on driving. So that's why I was like, maybe New York City might be a little bit easier for me, where I could, mold myself into New York City without having the responsibility of having a car, and driving around a big city. So New York City just kind of allowed me to just take the subway, to go to classes or do shows in New York City. So like for me New York City was the better route for me because a lot of people shoot independent films or like in the area, and it's just like a subway right away, or a show that it's like literally 20 blocks away from where you live. So like it's more convenient for me. So I won't have to like stress about like car maintenance. Is literally my motivation was like, I don't have car maintenance and I'll be fine.
And did you, when you move out there, I think if I remember correctly talking to you, you did some like independent theater shows or something like that too, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of black box that theater shows I did in New York City as a young actor. I feel like you have to start building your foundation as an actor, and theater is the best route to build that foundation. So I've done shows in black box, off Broadway shows, off Broadway show. Never a Broadway show, but like it's like for me it was like to kind of wet my toes, to start working with Mika people or Kitlu people or people in the theater scene in New York City. So.
At the same time, did you got cast into at least some roles in some film projects here and there too? During that time?
Yeah, I mean, I've done bits and parts, small parts to like medium roles, or to leading roles that are independent films. So independent films are basically self-funded or like even studio funded, but it's like such a lower budget of making a film. So basically doing those films and even TV shows, so in New York City, it's such an accessible place to do it because there's a lot of student films and those students become like independent filmmakers. And so you build that foundation, you build that connection. So those directors slowly call you back. They're like, oh, I worked with him before. I would like to work with him again with this project. So in New York City, the great thing about New York City is like there's probably like 5 or 10 different colleges or university within the city. So you're literally managing a lot of like different students that are making their thesis film, and I always recommend people when you're getting started, just act in anything, but eventually kind of grow out of it and just focus on the thesis films, because that those are going to get seen by industry people because those are the short films or thesis film that are going to be you know, being their showcase to graduate. And when they showcase this, it's like they're showcasing it in front of industry people.
Yeah, yeah. And now you and then you got cast in Gran Torino.
Yeah.
Is that your first major film project that you got cast? And
First,
tell me how you got cast on
Yeah,
that
so
project.
that, I mean, before that, I've done a lot of like other roles, but not as like a big budget like that.
Right.
So, and also working with Clint Eastwood, who's a legend, you know. So I was the first person they auditioned in New York City of everybody that they auditioned.
So you still have to go through that audition process and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the theater, the casting director heard of my work from some of the theater stuff I did, so brought me in to audition for the Coen Brothers film, you know, which they're Minnesota based as well. And then they have Gran Chino too, so I auditioned for the Coen Brothers film, and eventually
What film is that? Do you know?
A Serious Man.
Okay.
Yeah,
Serious
I
Man.
believe he's a serious man.
Okay.
And so that film was shooting at the same time where Gran Chino is shooting too. So they brought me in to read for that film, and eventually they brought me again, like a couple weeks later, to read for Gran Torino. So basically, I auditioned for B's role, who is Toad in Gran Torino, and then eventually they were like, okay, he might not look like the character so much of like someone who's, you know, don't talk a lot, you know, is submissive.
Young, innocent looking
Yeah.
kind of guy. Okay.
Yeah, so like they brought me back and read for Spider, and that's when I booked the role. It literally took like 3 months to hear anything back because Clint Eastwood doesn't really do callbacks. So
Right.
yeah,
And then that's how you got cast.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then right away. I mean, it was during the time where I was kind of like, okay, like if I don't get cast in this film, like there's no chance for me to be an actor. You know, so I kind of like gave up of like I'm not gonna get cast in this movie because it took so long for them to call me and say I'll book the movie. You know, so there was like a moment of me having self-doubt of not just kind of like finish college or go back to college and keep pursuing being a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And eventually, when I kind of like erased the email and kind of let it go, they called me and they emailed me like, I booked a job and, you know, you're leaving to Michigan in like 2 days. So pack your bags and, you know, we'll see you in Michigan, and you'll be shooting there for like a month.
Right at that point when you almost kind of lose all hope and kind of
Yeah.
like about to give up then.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of moments like that because it's such a lonely road, you know, and like when you're moving to New York City and you're just moving there for any other job, you don't feel as lonely, you know, because you could talk to other people that are going through it because everything is so 9 to 5, you know, but when you're an artist, conventional back then is acting in the Hmong community is conventional, right? So when you're doing something so unconventional as an artist, as an actor, it's like you can't really talk to anybody about your struggle of like where do I fit in this industry? You know, like back then I could lie about being Chinese, Korean, Japanese and book those roles and not so much of like this uproar by, you know, the Asian American community that I'm not authentic to that culture, you know? But the biggest issue was, you know, not a lot of people were writing roles for Hmong people or Southeast Asian communities, you know? I mean, now we start seeing bits and parts. And, you know, those bits and parts, as much as we say we don't want stereotypes, but Southeast Asians are literally playing a stereotype. Not so much of like with an accent or ching ching chong or, you know, like that sense, but Asians, we start seeing that, you know, as much as we don't want to play stereotypes, we are still playing stereotypes, you know, but we're gradually moving away from it, you know. So yeah, so it was such a lonely road of going to New York City, pursuing an acting career, but it's such a lonely road because you don't have a Hmong person to talk about it to, you know, and sometimes you do, but it's like you don't want them to feel like, oh, you're living out there, you just got an audition, like why are you complaining? Like it gets to a point of like you don't want to sound like you're complaining, so like you get to a point of you stop talking about it, so you hold everything in of your struggles, you know. So I mean back then it was literally Wah Yang, who's in a film called Bitterroot that it's out right now in film festivals, and like he was in LA and I was in New York, so we were once in a while talk to each other, you know, about us in our career and, you know, kind of like watch each other's back in a sense. But besides that, it's like it's still that struggle of like, who can I vent to, and would just kind of like not get tired of me venting about the same thing over and over again, because to me is a struggle. It's a hurdle that I'm trying to overcome, you know, without sounding whiny or complaining, you know.
Would you say that that's one of the reasons why so many, well, especially us Asians, but even mainstream like white Americans, black Americans as well, one of the reasons why, you know, they all give up on their path as an actor because of the loneliness, the struggle, and the lack of roles, you know, and the lack of casting? Would you say that that's one of the reasons why a lot of people just kind of like give up halfway and then move on to something else?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's part of it, and the other part is just people are just tired of the hustle,
Yeah.
you know, of like grinding,
Right.
you know, and they're just like, I'm tired of grinding. Like it's like that saying is like, beggars can't be chooser, but when you're an actor, you're technically kind of a beggar, you know what I mean? And you just like, I want to do that film, but like, I'm begging for you to cast me, but I don't want to choose it. You know, in the sense of like, it's like you're so hungry to do anything, you know, and that's the biggest thing of a lot of actors, is just tired, you know, and there's moments where I am tired, you know, and that's where it's like, I see the next generations coming and doing great things, especially in Minnesota, you know, with Melissa and like the people that are with Bitterroot and a lot of these small filmmakers that are making great documentary coming from Minnesota, you know. So it's great to see that, you know. So, but the thing it's like when you're in a sense not the first, but like to because I'm not considered as the first, but you know, but like when you're here alone and you're a man, it's like there's nothing to really fall back on. So like if you fall on your butt, you're falling on your butt. You know, like I can't just call Brand a song and be like, hey, how you doing? You know, because she's on a different level. She doesn't really talk to you, you know? So the thing, it's like you wish she would be there to be like, you know, to kind of like help be your, in a sense, mentor as well. Yeah. But she's on a different scale.
Right.
You know, so.
And I would imagine that because I guess in the movie industry, there's really no consistent. Each project is kind of like a project in itself. So you never know when the next project, unless you're up there with a big name, you know, your name becomes big, then there may be consistency. But if you're still struggling to get up there, then it's project by project, isn't it? So that's why it's really hard.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's. But the thing is, like, even if you do a big movie, right? Like for example, doing Mulan, you know, you do a big movie like that with, you know, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, Ife, Gong Li, you know, and you get that momentum, you know, you get the PR, right? But eventually that fades. You know, so it's just like everyone is always the one-hit wonder, the 15-minute fame. You know, eventually it's like, how do you continue to progress after the 10-minute fame? You have 5 more minutes to snatch something, so your career could continue to progress. You know, and that's the hardest thing, unless you build a fan base. And now it's like social media, right? You need to have the likes, you need to have the numbers of followers. And half of the time it's like your talent doesn't matter. It's just how many people can you attract and how can we bank off of that? And that's a lot of studios are doing right now, are just looking at data and looking at statistics to make sure they can make their money back. So it's everything, as much as like show business is called show business because everything it's a business. It's not so much about what we always fight about, diversity on film or screen. It's not even about that. That's like labeling organic on a fruit. And it's like it's a trend, and eventually it's like over. So
Yeah. Now living a life of being an actor, pursuing that career, and continue to kind of like get roles, and then at the same time, still have to kind of like having a side job or whatever it is that you need to do to kind of pay the bill, as well as for yourself as being a young Hmong man. You have to balance kind of family as well. How do you navigate all of that for yourself?
I mean,
is it pretty tough?
It's tough when you finish a movie, right? And then your reality hits back that like, okay, the movie's done. Where do I like make sure I have income to come pay my rent, to come, pay for car insurance? So your reality, it takes a moment to snap back to reality. Like, okay, I need to go find a side job. So that's why, like, I've not so much grew up, like I've been in the restaurant industry for such a long time. So that's just like, for me, it's just like a fallback of like always going back to that. So when I get a job, I could just stop that and go do the job, acting job, and come back, because it's easy. It's like the restaurant likes you, they see your resume, you know how to do customer service, you're good to go, and done. It's not so much of like brain surgery where it's like you have to think, So for me, it's always like trying to find something that I don't think, I just move, then so I could be able to free my brain for being creative, to write, or to come up with concept for films, and to have that free my brain to audition. So that's where it's like it's this balance of reality of making sure I could survive. I think being Hmong, I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned is from my parents and from different Hmong generation is how we survive. It's like if we were put into a situation of war, how do we survive that? How do we cross the jungle? How do we cross the Mekong River? How did we survive in the refugee camp? How did our parents survive in the United States? So like, I think I inherit that knowledge and that lesson from my parents and from the older generation of Hmong people of their struggle of survival, and I think that's always implemented in me of how do I continue to survive as much as hardship there is, and financially or emotionally, like how do I survive that and defeat that hurdle, so.
Yeah. Now, knowing you, I know that your passion is not only in acting, but in writing as well. Would you say that you enjoy writing as much as acting?
Not as much.
And I know that you got a few scripts that are sitting, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've probably have like rough drafts, like probably 20 rough drafts of different scripts. Okay. There's probably like 3 that are polished right now. But yeah, for me, I think the main thing, it's like it's a struggle of being in this industry, and because we're in this society now where it's so culture correct. And like Japanese people need to play Japanese, Korean needs to play Korean, Chinese needs to play Chinese, and once in a while, every 10 years, you will see the Southeast Asian community on screen, so it's kind of like, how do I write roles for myself, or just kind of champion the Southeast Asian narrative, the Hmong narrative, the Cambodian, the Laos, the Thai. Like how do I champion that? And most of the script I write is writing to push the narrative that the Hmong community, the Southeast Asian community, have an audience, and no one really tap it.
Right.
You know, because we see over and over again where with Clint Eastwood's film Gran Torino, it's a box office film. It's the most highest gross film for Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, people see the data of like, oh, it's Clint Eastwood,
Right.
and they forgot the Hmong community. So the thing, it's like you look at the statistic of his other films after that, they weren't as successful.
Right.
You know, so it's like, what's the difference? It's the Hmong community. You know, so it's like we have an audience. If we rally together to support a white guy, we need to change the narrative, like coming back and say, let's support a film like The Harvest, or let's support a film like Bitterroot, or let's support a film like a film from you, Mo Lee, or Kang Vang. Like, if we support that and came together as a community, we could show that we have an audience. And then that data and that statistic will show Hollywood that we haven't touched an audience, you know, that it's waiting to be shared and showed that, you know, they have an audience, you know, so.
Yeah. Now, coming back to The Harvest, what inspired you to write The Harvest? Is it your more of your combined with your own personal story as well, or tell me what inspired you to write that story?
Well, after Gran Torino, it go back to the thing of like what is going to be the next film that's written for me, you know, where I could just say no other ethnicity could play it, you know. So that kind of like the sprout of writing The Harvest, or at least sprout of writing something, you know, because at the beginning it was just not about the film right now. It was just like, I need to write something, you know, for me. And it was about a kid going to New York, pursuing, you know, something in New York, and it eventually kind of like metaphor to my dad having kidney issues. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it should be about a son and a father relationship. But again, it's like when you're such a young writer, that's what you write, and then when you see the final draft of that version, you're just like, there's no conflict, you know. It's like, what is the conflict here? So like, as you get older and you live life a little bit, you start seeing pieces of experiences and you put those into the film. So like, it's just kind of start building on top of each other. So like, bits of parts of it, it's about my life and my dad's life, and bits of part it will be about conversation I have with friends, you know, about their struggles with their family or their identity crisis, you know. And again, the Harvest for me is my struggle of being among artists and being a Hmong actor, like being Hmong, you know, growing up in Minnesota, being Hmong was normal, right? But when you grow up, when you know, go into the world, being Hmong as an actor was a struggle. Right. You know, so like, how do I translate that into a film rather than so much of like, because to me it was like just kind of like writing a film of an artist struggle being Hmong doesn't resonate. Right. You know, like, it's just like, okay, like, what is more to it? So like that's where it builds like the complexity of my character and The Harvest, you know, kind of displaying his internal struggle. Because a lot of Hmong men, or not Asian men, a lot of our internal trauma and internal, you know, mental health, we hold it in.
Yeah, we internalize.
Yeah, we internalize it, and I hope the Harvest displays that. You know, sometimes it's not just speaking about it; it's more of internalizing, and hope the audience see that the yearning to say something, but you can't say something, right? Because it's like, what is there to say when you're so exhausted to even talk about it?
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah, I had the privilege of watching the private viewing when you came up to Minnesota and
Yeah.
showed it a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and so after I watched it, I was like, wow, it's and it seems like a simple story, but it has its complexity.
Yeah.
It's very complex in its way because you focus on the family dynamics
Yeah.
between your the parents, especially your father, and then the son, and then the little sister, and then the people around it, the uncles, the friends, and
Yeah.
the dynamics of the family, the complexity. Even though, on the surface, it seems like it's a typical Hmong family, but underneath it, like you said, there's all kinds of complex, unspoken things that are going on, which reflects, I think if people watch it, they will kind of like be able to relate to it that, yeah, I mean, there's so many unspoken things or so many issues. It may not be the same issues, but we can relate to it. So I think how you guys weave the story is pretty good. And you kind of go on the poignant, is that the word for it, route of telling the story. So I kind of like that.
Oh, thank
so
you.
it's a really good film, actually.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, the thing it's like some like earlier viewings of the film, some people are like, there's so many complexities. There's so many like storylines within this film. Like, how can this happen in an Asian family? But I think it's like we see these films in tons of American film, and we don't say that that's we don't say that that's like that doesn't happen. Right. When it comes to an Asian story, Hmong film, it's like it does happen. We just don't talk about it. Right. And it shows a lot of taboo stuff that the Hmong community don't talk about, and that's the relationship with the father and the son, the relationship with the sister and the brother, the father and the mother's relationship, and like people around it, And I feel like if people just give this film a chance, they don't have to see themselves in all the characters, If they could just resonate with one character and say, shoot, that's me, or shoot, that's my mom, and that kind of like sprout into like, maybe I should watch this film with my mom or my dad or both of them or my siblings. And by watching this film, it would just open up a conversation, a healing conversation. Oh, without them even talking about it. They could just watch it and be like, okay, we watch it. Let's just move on from our issues and heal from this film,
Yeah, and I also appreciate the nuance of things, how you guys weave it, the nuance of the cultural nuance, and then the family dynamic, the nuance of some of the things that you may not focus on, but it kind of like, if you watch it carefully, you kind of get, okay, and I think Perry Young, yeah, he did a really good job. Even though he's Chinese American, right? Or is he Japanese?
Chinese.
Okay, yeah, Chinese American. He did a good job, and watching it, I'm thinking, some of the scenes I can relate because sometimes our parents, my dad is kind of like that. They have so much internal struggle, and yet they can't really get it out. And then it kind of like it builds up. So I think if people watch it. And those are some of the nuances that and coming through off of their face, their actions that you can tell, okay, And so, but people have to kind of like, but I think people my age, I get it.
Yeah.
Because I can relate, as well as now I'm a father too. So there are certain things that goes unspoken that you cannot speak, you cannot say, you cannot express.
Yeah.
But you can see it in your face.
Yeah, no, so definitely. I mean, that's the thing is showing just the nuance of the Hmong culture. But I think it's like having Pierre Young, who's a Chinese American actor, playing Hmong, opens the door to the wider audience. It's like this is not just a Hmong story. It's a universal story. It could be related into a Chinese story, and it could be related to a Singaporean or a Cambodian family. It's like as much as the war have divided many Asian community, a family to us, it's all the same. It's all the complexity.
Yeah.
You know, with our backstory, our history of trauma, it always leads to, in a sense, pulling by psychology, like, you know, going to school for psychology. It's like that mental awareness. We're all human.
Yeah.
You know, if you put yourself in a certain situation, you know, growing up in an Asian family, culture clash, or a Latino family, an immigrant family, with the culture clash of being American, we all experience it. We all have a father, we all have a mother, like, you know, like we all experience those emotions, you know, so.
Yeah. Now, regarding casting Perry and what's the mother's name?
Dan Ying.
Dan Yang, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get some, how do I say it correctly? Do you get some Hmong people like saying, oh, you know, why did you not cast a Hmong actor to play your dad? Or
there wasn't a lot of,
most people are pretty understanding?
yeah, people were really understanding. There's probably one or two of like, oh, you should cast Hmong actors.
Right.
But the thing is, we have to understand we are still in a society where if you have a Hmong man actor, right, to play the father, it's totally fine.
Right.
But the thing is, when you have a Hmong female actor in that age range playing a role, like in a movie, you have to follow Hmong traditional protocol. It's like, because I think there's still that taboo of like, oh, 不来啊. So like, it's still that hard moments of like, okay, how do we not build a bad rep for this woman, this Hmong woman, after the movie, you know? Because like, I remember we reached out to your wife to audition for the film, you know, and that's the thing. It's like we went out to a lot of actresses and non-actresses, Hmong actresses, to send in tapes for the mother role. And then it came down to the director. As a producer of this film, like, you have to be collaborative. You have to give the director the option of like, this is where I want to go with this film, you know, because the thing, it's like, if I was a director, it might be a different story. But the thing, it's like, I wasn't. I was the producer, writer, and the actor in the film, you know, and I think the right thing was allowing a female director to come and direct this film to give nuance for the mother and the sister character was the right route for this film.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm a man writing a family story, and I see things from a man perspective, and stuff that I can't understand from a woman's perspective. She was there to like anchor that, you know. So yeah, like there was some bits of small parts that, you know, that were some people, I mean, that have this like, oh, questioned it. But again, it's like, you're a Hmong creative, you still understand the Hmong community and what they would do to a Hmong woman who is doing a film like this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, because I didn't want to take that chance on a lot of the Hmong women.
Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of like me being aware of the Hmong community. You know, so, but again, it's like hiring these like professional actors, like they gave it 150% to encompass the Hmong culture. You know, and we have like a Hmong cultural person there to make sure they understand the Hmong culture. And the funny thing is, when they have those talk and did their research in about the Hmong community, they're like, this is exactly like my family.
Yeah.
The only difference is, yeah, the language.
Yeah.
The only difference is we don't use certain spices compared to other spices.
Right.
You know, so like it's not so much of like 90-degry difference.
Family dynamics is pretty much the same,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? As a filmmaker myself, I can see that, well, okay, casting, you still, at the end of the day, the film still has to be able to sell.
Yeah.
Not only financially, but the realistic, that you have to convince your audience that the movie is has a realistic feel to it, meaning that you need directors with experience, and also you need name recognition. So you have to make a decision, and in the end, that's what counts. And I think we shouldn't have the narrow view of, if it's a Hmong movie, then everyone has to be Hmong. Because this is not just a film for the Hmong people, but it's for mainstream audience and for whoever should want to watch it. And for them, I don't think they care whether the actor is Hmong or not. It's Asian. Because, for example, like yourself, you're Hmong, but you play a Chinese role as Paul, right? And people don't care.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't care either, And so I think we should view it that way going from here forward, because you want your film to be at least successful to a certain point financially, and then you want the name, at least certain amount of name recognition, familiar faces. Like Perry Young, he's a familiar face. His name recognition is way up there already. And to me, I say, okay, whatever is best for the film, and we can maximize our view audience.
Yeah, I mean,
should be okay.
That's why, to me, it was important to include Jami Xiong, Mai Moua, and Gu Li, and Zhong Gang. Like it's and like bringing someone like Tom Tao, like bringing some of these Hmong actors or artists into this film.
Yeah, and I'm glad you cast Gu and Chami and Mai Moua and a few other Hmong guys that are like Gu. I worked with him before too, so he's in the Hmong community. He's pretty big name, So I'm glad you cast him in there. And like you said, it's how you pay respect for your fellow Hmong actors, and in whatever way you bring in. I'm glad you did that.
It's important, because it's really important to still, even as much as like you have your success as a Hmong actor in Hollywood, in a sense, like you still see these older generation of entertainment industry in the Hmong community, and you still see that they've done stuff. So you, as a young Hmong artist, are able to say, how could I surpass that? Without them being the first person to put movies and VCRs and DVDs, without you being a director and shooting your movies, like I wouldn't be like, how can I take one step further so I could come back and pay respect to them and bring them up with me? Because I'm still young, I have the energy to struggle a little more. It's like, that's the thing of like, having that respect for you, Kang Vang, these Hmong older generation actors, so.
Now, about the subject of the harvest, I won't give a spoiler, but you also tackle a still quite taboo subject of the lifestyle of the son. I won't give a spoiler, but I would say it takes a certain amount of courage to do that, to tackle that subject. Did you hesitate at first when you're going to tackle that subject?
Yeah, I did hesitate a little bit, but even like when we came to Minnesota for Minneapolis-St. Paul International Film Festival, because that's like our major Hmong community, right? We knew that was going to be the Hmong community that came out to watch this film at this international film festival. Like it was still like, oh, I don't know what they're going to think. But the thing, it's like, I feel like if I don't tackle that subject, I don't think there's going to be another filmmakers, maybe the next 5 years or 10 years, would be able to tackle it. So I decided to include it, because again, that was my metaphor of my struggle as a Hmong man in this industry. Like that's how I could like display the identity crisis. So So that's why I feel like some people, surprisingly, a lot of Hmong audience, like, look past that.
Yeah.
And they're really open of like, shit, that was my son, that was my daughter, and thank you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to communicate with them,
Yeah.
that I love them. Or like, how do I, or vice versa of the daughter and son that reach out, like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being strong and like open to just show this. Because as much as I struggle to just declare my love for my parents, like I just don't know how much more can I do. But this film just solidified, and thank you so much for doing that, because they could watch this film and they could just understand.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I get the what you're trying to get at, because I think that subject alone is still very, very taboo. So I can relate that most Hmong family, they're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
They won't talk about it because it's still very taboo. But that is just a metaphor, a point to make. But for me, I look at the overall nuance of the family dynamic and you know the lifestyle of the son, as well as his dreams, what he wanted, you know, in his life, his career, he's pursuing what he's pursuing, and then balancing that with the family and the dad's own struggle, his illness, you know, what he internalizes. So I think we shouldn't just focus on that one thing as a viewer.
Yeah.
But we look at the overall picture and we say, oh, wow, it's a good story.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I feel like a lot of the audience watch the film and they see it, but they don't even say that was an issue. You know what I mean? Because again, like everybody in the family had their own secrets. So,
yeah.
So like,
and
go ahead.
I like the way you guys do it too, because you do it tastefully and you don't. That's not the main focus of the story, even though it is part of the main subject that the family has to tackle, you know, and willing to accept too. But you guys do it very in a very subtle way and a very tasteful, and so it's not like in your face. It's not in your face, kind of like, oh, you know, I want you to take this and accept this, but you do it very tastefully, and how you guys navigate around that, and then conclude with that, then it's perfect. So I like that.
It comes down to like, how do we define love? Right. Sometimes love is through food, you know, the language of food. Sometimes love is through sitting still and just go fishing like the father and son. That's love. Sometimes love is accepting somebody for who they are. You know, and sometimes love is just showing up to be there for somebody when they're in need. So the film, it's all about, what is love? Is love this obligation that we are born and inherited like an heirloom, or is love something that grows through time and develop and defined by each individual person? You know, and I think the film is, as much as it's about the generational trauma of the family and the different dynamic within the family, the main focus is, how do we love each other in this age? You know, with all the trauma, the past trauma, how do we navigate love through that trauma and poke out through the other end and say, I love you. So like that, I feel like that, I hope people get that within this film, you know, of defining love for yourself.
Now I have to say, in terms of quality, this would not be I would not categorize it as a Hmong movie, but it's a Hmong story. And as far as the filmmaking production quality of it, I would say you guys take it to another level with the budget that you guys have. Because for me, right, even making Hmong movies now, I try not to have the typical cringy, kind of corny, really amateurish Hmong movie นะ yeah. Even in my earliest film I try my best with the ultra small budget that I have to kind of like at least the portrayal of the actors look and more a certain amount, at least certain to a certain level and more amount of realism นะ yeah. In acting as well as the production quality, the visual aspects of it นะ Films like yours, you guys, even though you guys produce it independently, it takes it to another level. So I just want to say, yeah, I'm really happy for you on that because when I watch it, it doesn't look like a Hmong movie, or it doesn't have that look anymore. It has the look of any Korean movie, any Hollywood movie, Joya, that you produced independently. So it has that look, and your actings and the nuance and the dynamics of the movie itself, everything that it's way up there already. So I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you. I mean, like
really inspiring. Yeah.
I mean, again, like when your film came to the market. Now, when I was a young actor, like it was like the cinematography was beautiful, the acting was beautiful. It was real, you know. And then again, it's that I think that's kind of like again having you pushing the boundaries as filmmakers was great for me as a young filmmaker, you know, and you had to pay you tons of props on that to you too, you know. And the thing is, as us filmmakers, it comes down to having the right team of director, editor, most important thing, coloring and sound, you know, and that thing some of us indie filmmakers forget about coloring and sound mixing.
Exactly.
You know, and we just like, Mike, that's it.
Right.
But again, you forget you had to sound mix, you had to color the image, exactly. You know, as traditional filmmakers should be doing. And I think, but again, we should not forget that there's different market for different people, you know, and that's why, for example, Tyler Perry, right? He has a market. Yeah. His is like soap opera, you know, funny, so, you know, and like, you know, the thing, it's like, that's why it works for him and his market. And that's why, you know, again, Ying Ta's film has its own market, you know, that's why your film has your own market. And the next generation of filmmakers have their own market of hopefully, I think right now is how do we, as us all Hmong filmmakers in different, you know, part of our lives or different generation of filmmakers, how can we come together and consolidate all our experience and do a project together, or just kind of like sprout ideas so we could move on to create our own projects and pay tribute to each other, you know. So.
Yeah, I think my generation's style of filmmaking or how we did it is phasing out, or I would say pretty much gone. That generation is gone because people of my parents' age who watch our movie, you know, they're slowly phasing out. So we can't stay there. We can't stay there. We got to move on. And so now the next generation of film viewers and filmmakers, they're going to expect quality. Yeah. So I'd say we should.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like if there's like a smart filmmaker, right, able to bring that your generation or the Sutal generation of filmmaking, but do it in like a smart way. Like, for example, like Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
You know, like how it comes down to great writing, comes down to like purposely do it that style. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we can still do a Hmong story, a Hmong family, a full cast Hmong, even just a low budget, but we just have to kind of push it a little bit further. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Like you said, Quentin Tarantino, he does a spaghetti western.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's like push it to the level. You know?
Yeah, to another level, and so we can keep that genre, you know, or we can do a full blown Hmong story, even takes place back in Laos, but with the, you know, the poor family with the thatched roof house and all that Hmong house, typical Hmong house, but we push it to another level, and that's what we got to do.
Yeah. Like with the storyline or just the writing.
Yeah,
you know, or
the writing.
Don't forget to sound mix or color. You know, so
correct.
You know, or like color to to that look
Yeah.
that you want, purposely doing that, so again, the greatest thing about American filmmaking, even Asian filmmaking, it's like you still pay respect to the people that came before you, and how do we have this next generation also pay respect to and remember the Sutas of the generation, the Morley of the generation, the King Ving of the generation, the Yingta generation, and say, how do I encompass all that and make this spaghetti Hmong movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think
But
that
really
would be
good.
Yeah, I think that'd be something beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's where we combine, good writers, such as yourself. But anyways, yeah. So congratulations
Thank you so much.
on your journey. And my last question is, where does Doua Moua go from here?
Hopefully continue to pursue his dreams, and I'm currently writing a horror film right now, and it's just kind of, I guess, literally living through the struggle of making an Asian American film, hence a Hmong film. It has been a struggle, and so the thing is like, how do I still encompass that and pay respect to that, but like push it to the next level of writing something maybe outside of the Hmong community, but still have bits and parts of the reflection of the Hmong community in the next script. So I think that's like the next thing I'm doing in writing, and the industry is kind of slow right now, so hopefully it comes back again, and you continue auditioning and being an actor. I think that's my first love. So just continue to hopefully inspire people and to pursue their dreams, and yeah.
All right. So hey, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you spending an hour and a half with me here, and I really appreciate it. And we'll talk again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
So yeah, and I appreciate your time.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate your time joining us, as well as thank you to Doua for joining us. And The Harvest is out, so you guys can watch it on Prime, right? Amazon Prime.
Amazon, Apple TV,
Apple
or
TV.
YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so please support our fellow brother, a Hmong brother who's been in quite a few major Hollywood movies, and he's this project is independently produced. Yeah, and then who distributed it?
Freestyle Media.
Freestyle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I hope you guys show some support and then go watch it. And $3.99, $5.99 is not that much. You can't even buy a burger nowadays with that. But you can watch an entire movie. So I hope you guys show some support, and so that guys like Doua and myself, we can continue making movies. Even Hmong movies still are nice, but he's in mainstream independent movies. So show some support. And so thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you guys on the next episode.